It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me, Nick, and how good to be alongside some other incredible speakers who I'm looking forward to hearing from. It's a big ask to kick it off, so, just we'll take it as it comes. I hope you enjoy. Yes, so g'day. Kia ora. My name's Emma Forster. At the moment, I'm the Climate Innovation and Sustainable Development Lead at the City of Melbourne, and that title might give you a hint as to why I'm here today. But I wanted to kick off with a question for you all. If you were an SDG, which one would you be? Or it could be more than one. Just have a think about it. Which one? There's 17 of them. There's quite a few. Is there one that sort of you feel like you resonate with? Maybe it's in your personal life. Maybe you like going hiking and you're sort of a bit more life on land, or maybe in your workplace you're sort of, working on some sort of water engineering. Who knows? But I wanted to I asked this question of myself, and I just wanted to share a little bit more about me before I dive into the crux of my talk. But that's me, a few different versions of me. So when I was thinking about this question, I thought I really started life strongly in life on land and life below water. So you'll see up there, I was a Girl Guide. I was really into hiking and camping and doing all sorts. Lifeguard. I was obsessed with the beach, swimming, water. I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist at one point. And I love dolphins. And of course, it's an odd one, but I'm dressed up there to collect funds for a not-for-profit. It was like a Save the Animals sort of thing. So anyway, slightly embarrassing. But that's where I started. And then I had a bit of a journey. It's great to see some General Assembly alumni in the house tonight. But I sort of tangled with a bit of Goal 4 and then for a few years. And when I landed at the City of Melbourne, I was really leaning into Goal 16, the peace, justice and strong institutions. That just cuts right through. But in my roles at the City of Melbourne, I've been inside the Smart City office, worked in economic development, and so I've sort of dabbled across a few different goals. I spent some time at Sustainability Victoria, so I really lent into my circular economy, circular innovation and business hat. And then this one happened. This is a fake goal. This is not a real goal. You can laugh if you like. This is the one. That was my SDG, made up SDG for 2023. It's still ongoing, actually, because my son's only 2.5 years old. But yes, it brings me to today. So I work in the climate change and city resilience branch at the City of Melbourne. And so a lot of my work is really focused in on Goal 13 and some of the other goals that lean into climate action and climate innovation. But my role is also very much Goal 17 and covers all of the SDGs, because what I do at City of Melbourne is I help embed the Sustainable Development Goals across the city. So that's just something to think about. You can ruminate on the question yourselves as we go through the prezzo. So I'm going to segue now, how might a local government authority like the City of Melbourne decide what it wants to be when it grows up? What goals, what goals would a city aspire to align or to be? And so I'll do a little history lesson. I'm sure a lot of you are SDG fanatics already, but in case you didn't know, so the UN established the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, and this is all around the 2030 agenda. So as Councillor Ball mentioned, and Nick, we actually only have 5 years to get to these goals, so wish us luck. So it really is a call to action for countries to look at, to promote prosperity while protecting our planet, supporting, with the central notion really is to leave no one behind. How can we think about leaving the planet and as a place for future generations, and how can we support everyone to be included along the journey? So we decided as a city to use the SDGs as a guiding framework, which has been quite a journey and something that we kicked off in 2022. So I thought I would spend a bit of time talking to you about how we did that. And maybe there's some principles and opportunities through this talk that you might be able to apply to your own business or organisation as well. Do we have any other councils in the room or government people in the room? Oh yeah, you can put your hand up. It's good to be amongst friends. We've got a couple, that's cool. So I'll come find you after. But yeah, it's good to, this is just a really awesome opportunity to share some of the learnings and things that we did. So where did all of this come from? So in 2020, it was a bit of fire. and actually my colleague and I walked past a bin fight on the way here tonight on Swanston Street and reported it. But there was lots happening. There was the Black Summer bushfires, so Australia was essentially a bin fire. We had COVID. It was all feeling pretty dire. But we were having some early conversations with the Melbourne Centre for Cities at the University of Melbourne, and also with the Monash Sustainable Development Institute. So they were already having chats with us about like what could we do with the goals and what's an opportunity here. And of course, with all of these crazy world events happening, we really wanted to think about what city or what experience we want to leave future generations. And Councillor Ball referenced this, but we went and created a big old strategy document called the Voluntary Local Review. It looks like that, and it's quite a hefty document. But essentially what it does, it's a process that took us about 2 years to consolidate and localise the UN got targets into a localised urban version so that we could track and measure how we are performing as a city. Because more and more, like a lot of our world's population live in cities now. So it's incredibly important that we can show that we can make an impact and really embrace the opportunity that the goals provide the city. And cities are leading the way. There were only 30 cities in the world when Melbourne put the hand up to do a VLR. And I think when I checked last, there are now about 121 cities. So it's growing, but there are like 10,000 cities in the world, so there's a lot more work to do. I did just come back from 2 weeks in Fiji where they have 3 local councils that have just completed their local voluntary reviews, which is really incredible. So there's still a real appetite and opportunity for other local councils to take the lead. And of course, at national levels, national governments have, commitments to the goals, but really it's quite an awesome opportunity to see how the grassroots on the ground, city level, can ladder up to those larger aspirations. This is a snapshot of what's inside that big strategy document. It outlines that we have, so across 16 of the goals, so goal 17, we didn't localise the targets on that one, but we have 88 targets and over 300 indicators. That's a lot of rows in the spreadsheet. So how did we get here? So just some data principles, so some principles that we embraced when going through the process. So we wanted to make sure that the goals were consistent. We weren't changing anything around the title of the goals, but what was important was that the targets were localised. So we changed the wording to a point that was helpful for us to see how we can influence and change on a local level. And the indicators were selected. We made a priority against the indicators that we could see other cities also measuring against, so we could sort of benchmark and compare ourselves to how we were tracking against other cities in the world too. So that's cool. 4 simple steps. The first step was around mapping all of the SDGs to different services and work areas at council. And to no surprise, we found that every part of council touched on one or more of the SDGs. It just makes total sense. We finalised the data set, again, that over 300 indicators, and yes, it still lives in a spreadsheet. We created the glossy. You've got to have a glossy document. You've got to send that to the UN and get it like ticked off. So that's a whole thing. And we, at the time, because we were thinking about goal 17, we actually we had a cross-sectoral forum with stakeholders, and really that's something that we try to embody in everything that we do through community engagement, business engagement. The partnerships with the goals is just it's there across everything we do. Just quickly on the benchmarking, when we did the benchmarking report against other cities, these were the 5 goals that we were really strong in, which is super cool. Happy to share this as well, but the caveat being that it is slightly out of date now with the data. But it was really interesting to sort of see how Melbourne is tracking and what the areas are, what are our strengths, but also what are the areas for improvement are. And that's exactly what the VLR was able to show us. The data set. So it started in an Excel document, it's still in an Excel document, but it now is also publicly available. It's part of my role is to be the kind of overall custodian of this spreadsheet, but empower other parts of the organisation who are data owners who are actually, custodians of the goals. Like the health and wellbeing branch, they look after all the indicators that sit against those indicators and targets. So part of my role is really around collaboration and making friends in other departments. So now we have a digital data dashboard, so you can go online on our open data platform or on our SDG webpage, which I'll share shortly, and you can see how we're going. You can genuinely see like how we're tracking against this one. So goal 13, this is around greenhouse gas emissions per resident. And look, it's coming down. It's coming down. Yeah, it's so good. So that's favourable. I didn't grab a screen grab of something less favourable, but Councillor Paul did reference, food insecurity. Like, to be real with you, food insecurity is bad, and we have to we know that through tracking the data, and we know that there's things we need to do to change. So moving into the action side, how do we get people to care? There's a myriad of stakeholders and folks that we need to work with on this work. So it starts internally, and a lot of the work that City of Melbourne has been doing to date has been all about getting our staff on board and our elected officials and our leadership teams. We've got around 2,000 City of Melbourne staff members, so, and you can imagine that there's a lot of attrition, people come and go, so it's a constant education piece in my role around upskilling staff. So we have internal websites, or e-learning modules. We ran an innovation program that we've set to run again soon, so that we can encourage parts of the organisation to bring their projects forward. We help them map which goals they're aspiring towards, and then what sort of indicators and data sets they might be collecting, or that they might need to help inform the work that they're doing. So we sort of run this SDGs as a service piece. So myself and some of the team, we sit down with work areas that are developing strategies, projects and plans, and help sort of map this out for them. For the community, so if you have your phone, you can scan the QR code to head to our website. So we've got resources for communities, individuals and businesses, which I'll go to in a minute. And we have quite a strong international engagement piece. So the beauty of the goals is that they're global. It's a global framework which allows us to have a global presence and interact and engage with cities that are contributing towards the goals. We have translated our SDG materials and case studies to Mandarin and Bahasa Indonesian. We've got sister cities in those countries, so we have a really strong connection to our overseas partners. Who's from business? I think most of us are from business in the room. That's really cool. So the role of business, I think, is critical. As you've heard from Mick and from Councillor Ball, businesses can be a critical driver of change. And by businesses taking local action, it really does create a global momentum and global impact. So we have launched this year an initiative called SDG Align. We're actually one of the partners of 17X. The founder, Willem Overbosch, has actually spoken at this event, I think in Sydney and in Brisbane. And so he's got a digital platform for business to sign up, a quick, less than 10-minute assessment on how you think you're tracking against essentially the SDGs. You don't know that yet until you sign in. But as soon as you go through that process, you can then immediately see where your strengths are and where are some areas that you might want to improve or pay attention to going forward. And part of this platform is that we've customised the content on there, so that, say you want to dive deeper into a certain topic, you can click through there and find all the resources that the City of Melbourne can direct you to. It might be statewide resources or city, municipal resources to help you maybe take the next step towards any of the goals. So this is a really exciting opportunity for us that we're testing at the moment. I highly encourage you to sign up if you're a business and see if it's for you. Open to feedback. It's a pilot that we're running, so really excited to see where we can take the roadmap for this sort of product and what it could do to really support business in the city as well. So I guess our programs and the opportunities for council, we're here to solve practical problems and align to the goals and make change. So we're really in this for collaboration and to drive towards this greater purpose together. So we'd love to, work with you. If there's any ideas that have sparked out of tonight that you'd like to speak to the city about or get involved, we'd love to hear. And really, I think I wanted to sort of start wrapping up by just saying that we really cannot do this alone. So the city, we have these localised targets, we have these aspirations, we want to achieve the global goals by 2030, but we simply cannot do it by ourselves. So that's why engaging with business, residents, community, leaning into Goal 17 around partnerships with the goals is so critical. And because there's so much ahead that's challenging, particularly with our climate. We really need to pull together because we cannot stand still. Standing still is simply not an option. So I'll loop back. I'm curious to know, and we can talk about it in the drinks at the end, but how many, that's probably the question to ask. If it's not one, how many SDGs can you be? And how many different parts of the global 2030 agenda do you think you can contribute to help leave no one behind and make the world a better place?
Good.
Thank you.